The holographic star map flickered in the center of the massive chamber as Ambassador Telrin slammed all four of his fists against the metal podium. His purple scales turned darker with each passing second. Around him, representatives from 40 different alien empires watched in silence. The council chamber looked like a giant theater made of crystal and metal, with seats arranged in circles going up toward the ceiling. Floating screens showed images of unknown ships moving through space that nobody had given them permission to enter. "These creatures ignore our laws," Telrin shouted. His voice echoed off the walls. "They fly through forbidden zones like tourists. They refuse to answer our messages. They act like they own the galaxy." High Arbiter Morvin stood from his seat at the highest level. He was 12 feet tall and made entirely of living crystal that glowed with soft blue light. When he spoke, the sound came out like music. "What species are we discussing?" "Humans," Telrin spat the word. "From a planet called Earth. They appeared 6 months ago and have been breaking every rule since then." The floating screens showed sleek silver ships with strange markings. They moved fast through asteroid fields and past warning beacons without slowing down. One video showed a human vessel doing a complete spin in space for no reason at all. A small alien with 6 eyes raised one thin arm. "Have they attacked anyone?" "No," Telrin admitted. "But that does not matter. They refuse to follow protocol. They enter restricted space. They do not submit their technology for inspection. This is unacceptable." Morvin's crystal body pulsed with thought. "Send them a summons. Bring them here to answer for these violations. The full council will hear their explanation." Telrin smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Already done, High Arbiter. Their response arrived 1 hour ago." The main screen changed to show simple text in the human language with translation below. It read, "We'll be there. Save us a seat." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Several ambassadors stood up from their seats. A tall, insect-like creature chittered in disbelief. "They mock us. They laugh at a council summons." "Worse," Telrin said. "They act like we invited them to dinner. No fear, no respect. They treat the most powerful governing body in the galaxy like a joke." Morvin dimmed slightly, which meant he was concerned. In 5,000 years of council history, no species had ever responded to a summons with humor. Fear was normal. Anger was common, but casual acceptance, never. "Perhaps they do not understand the seriousness," offered a floating, jellyfish-like ambassador whose species communicated through color changes. "They are new to our space. Maybe they lack proper context." Telrin's scales turned almost black with rage. "They understand perfectly. I sent 3 warning messages. Each one explained the consequences of defiance. They responded to the last one with a moving image of a human giving a thumbs-up gesture. Our computers say it means agreement or happiness." "What do we know about these humans?" asked a reptilian delegate from the lower tiers. A holographic display appeared showing a blue and green planet. Numbers and data scrolled past in multiple languages. Morvin leaned forward to read the information. What he saw made his glow flicker with confusion. "This cannot be correct," he said slowly. "The gravity reading shows 1.3 times our standard. The oxygen content is listed at 21%. Temperature variations of over 100 degrees. The data specialist, a small gray creature with enormous eyes, checked his equipment. "All verified, High Arbiter. The planet called Earth is classified as a harsh world by our standards. High gravity, high oxygen, extreme weather patterns, large predators in every environment." "Yet intelligent life evolved there," Morvin sounded doubtful. "According to their own records, yes. They call themselves the dominant species of their planet." Telrin waved a dismissive hand. "It does not matter where they come from. What matters is they show no respect for our authority. I propose we prepare a military response. When they arrive, they will see the full might of the Council fleet. Let them try to laugh when surrounded by 600 warships. Several ambassadors agreed loudly. Others remained quiet, still studying the data about Earth. Morven watched the information scroll past and felt something unusual for a being as old as him. Uncertainty. "Prepare the fleet," he finally ordered. "But do not fire unless they show aggression. We will hear their words first. Perhaps there is a reasonable explanation." Telrin's scales lightened slightly with satisfaction. "As you command, High Arbiter, though I suspect the only explanation needed will be delivered by weapons, not words." The council session ended. Representatives filed out of the chamber discussing the coming confrontation. Some predicted the humans would arrive in a tiny ship and beg for mercy. Others thought they would not come at all. A few looked at the harsh world data and wondered quietly why any species from such a dangerous planet would fear anything the council could threaten them with. High Arbiter Morven remained in his seat long after the others left. He stared at the image of Earth spinning slowly on the display. The blue oceans, the green continents, the swirling white clouds. It looked beautiful, peaceful. The data said otherwise. He thought about species that evolved fighting for survival every day on a world that tried to kill them. He thought about what that might create. Then he thought about their response message. "Save us a seat." Like they were coming to visit friends. Like 600 warships meant nothing. Like the entire Galactic Council was just another appointment on their schedule. For the first time in a very long time, Morven felt something close to worry. Space rippled like water when the human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Council Armada had been waiting for 3 hours in perfect military formation around their orbital station. 600 warships from 20 different empires, all armed and ready. The station itself looked like a massive ring of metal and crystal orbiting, a gas giant with purple and orange storms visible across its surface. Then everything changed. First one human ship appeared, then another, then 5 more, then 20. The Council sensors counted 12 heavy warships, 3 enormous carriers that dwarfed most of the Council vessels, and dozens of smaller support craft. This was not a diplomatic shuttle. This was a battle group. But what shocked the Council observers more than the fleet size was the sound coming through their communication channels. Music. Loud, rhythmic music with guitars and drums. Something the humans called rock and roll. The sound blasted across every open frequency like the humans were throwing a party. Commander Brecht stood on the bridge of his ship watching the tactical display. He was a large man with scars on his face and gray in his hair. Next to him, his communication officer looked nervous. "Sir, the Council is demanding we shut down our music broadcast and follow proper approach protocols." "Tell them the music stays on," Brecht said with a slight smile. "And tell them we are following protocols, ours." The flagship of the human fleet was called Defiant. On its bridge, Captain Reed sat in her command chair with her boots propped up on the console. She was young for a ship captain, barely 30, with short dark hair and a flight suit that had Earth's flag stitched on the shoulder. Her crew moved efficiently around her, checking weapons, shields, and navigation. "Council fleet is targeting us," her tactical officer reported. "We have over 300 weapon locks." "Any actual firing?" Reed asked. "No, Captain, just targeting." "Then they are still talking, not shooting. Good enough for me." She pressed a button on her armrest. "All ships form up but keep it loose. If someone sneezes out there, I do not want us crashing into each other." The human fleet moved into a casual formation. Not the rigid military lines the Council used. Not the defensive sphere most species adopted when outnumbered. Just a loose group of ships that seemed almost relaxed. One of the smaller vessels even did a complete barrel roll before sliding into position. On the Council station, High Arbiter Morven watched from the observation deck with growing confusion. Ambassador Telrin stood beside him, all 4 fists clenched. "They mock us," he hissed. "Playing music, performing tricks in space. This is an outrage." This is unexpected, Morven corrected. He studied the human ships carefully. They were built differently than Council vessels, sleeker, more compact, and the energy readings were strange. The shields showed power level that should not be possible from ships that size. A communication request came through. The Council accepted it. A human face appeared on the main screen. Male, middle-aged, with a gray beard and calm eyes. He wore formal clothing rather than a military uniform. Council Station, this is Director Hayes of Earth's Diplomatic Corps, the human said pleasantly. Sorry we are late. Traffic was murder out past the Carina Nebula. Where should we park? Dead silence filled the observation deck. Several council members looked at each other in disbelief. Telrin's scales turned nearly black. Park, park. You stand before the assembled might of the Galactic Council with weapons aimed at your vessels and you ask where to park. Hayes smiled slightly. Well, yes, I mean we came all this way. Seems rude to just float around aimlessly. Plus, I could really use a bathroom break. 6-hour journey in FTL does things to the bladder. More silence. Then, incredibly, one of the junior council staff members laughed. He quickly covered his mouth when Telrin glared at him with all 4 eyes. Captain Reed's voice came through the communication channel. Hayes, are you boring them with your bladder situation again? Nobody cares about your medical issues. I care about my medical issues, Captain, Hayes replied. And for the record, I am trying to be diplomatic here. By talking about bathrooms. It is an icebreaker. Everybody uses bathrooms, common ground. On the council station, Morven made a decision. Dock at Bay 17. Send only your diplomatic team. No weapons, no more than 5 people. Sounds good, Hayes agreed. We will be there in 20 minutes. Captain Reed, you are with me. Bring Commander Brecht and 2 security people. Do they need to be pretty security people or just good at their jobs? Reed asked. Hayes sighed. Good at their jobs, Captain. Boring but fine. The communication ended. The council members stood in stunned silence. Telrin turned to Morven. This is a trick. They will bring weapons. They will attack. Perhaps, Morven said quietly, or perhaps they are exactly what they appear to be, a species that does not understand fear. Impossible. Every intelligent species understands fear. It is basic survival instinct. Morven thought about Earth's gravity, the high oxygen, the extreme temperatures, the predators. Maybe, he said slowly, or maybe when you evolve on a world that tries to kill you every day, you run out of fear to give. Down in Docking Bay 17, 50 armed guards waited in formation. When the human shuttle docked, Hayes stepped out first with empty hands. Reed followed, looking around like a tourist. Brecht came next, his size making smaller guards nervous. Hayes smiled at the armed reception. Quite the welcoming committee. Should we have brought flowers? The council judgment chamber filled quickly with curious representatives. Word had spread about the strange humans who played music in the face of overwhelming military force. Now everyone wanted to see what would happen when they faced actual judgment. Hayes and Reed stood in the center of the circular chamber on a raised platform meant to make accused parties feel small and exposed. It did not seem to be working. Hayes stood with his hands clasped behind his back looking completely comfortable. Reed actually leaned against one of the decorative pillars with her arms crossed like she was waiting in line at a store. High Arbiter Morven took his seat at the highest tier. The other council members filled in around him in descending circles. The chamber grew quiet. Morven's crystal body pulsed with formal light patterns. Let us begin. Director Hayes of Earth, you and your people stand accused of multiple violations of galactic law. Ambassador Telrin stood at his podium, activating holographic displays. Violation 1. Unauthorized entry into 12 forbidden zones over 6 months. These areas are restricted by council decree. You had no permission to enter. Hayes nodded thoughtfully. True, we entered those zones, but they had no warning beacons, no marker buoys, no signs saying keep out, just empty space that your maps colored red. We thought maybe you ran out of paint for those areas. A few snickers echoed from the upper tiers. Telrin's scales darkened. Violation 2, ignoring quarantine borders around 3 systems marked as dangerous. Those quarantine markers were broken, Reed interjected. Half of them had dead power cells. We actually fixed 3 of them. You are welcome, by the way. Violation 3, Telrin continued, his voice rising. Refusal to submit your technology for mandatory council inspection. Hayes raised an eyebrow. You want to inspect our technology. Why? Are you planning to copy it or just make sure it meets some arbitrary standard you invented? All species must prove their technology is safe before being allowed unrestricted travel. Safe for whom? Reed asked. Because our ships work fine for us. If you are worried we might blow ourselves up, well, that is our problem, not yours. Telrin slammed one fist on his podium. Violation 4, general disregard for proper protocols, failure to show respect to council authority, and mockery of established order. That is not a legal violation, Hayes said calmly. That is you being upset that we did not bow when you expected us to. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some council members supported Telrin, others seemed amused by the human responses. Morven raised one crystalline hand for silence. Director Hayes, help me understand something. You arrived in our space with a battle fleet. You refused basic courtesy. You ignore warnings, yet you claim to want peaceful relations. How do you explain this contradiction? Hayes took a breath. High Arbiter, Earth's history taught us an important lesson. When you show up weak, people push you around. When you show up strong but respectful, people listen. We came with our fleet because we wanted you to listen, not because we want to fight. Your actions suggest otherwise, Morven said. Our actions suggest we have boundaries, Reed corrected. Big difference. You summoned us like we were naughty children. We came because we choose to talk, not because you ordered us. See the difference? A blue-skinned ambassador from the lower tiers stood up. You are outnumbered 100 to 1 by the combined council forces. What makes you think you have any choice in this matter? Reed and Hayes exchanged glances. Reed shrugged. You want to tell them, or should I? You are better at the dramatic stuff, Hayes said. Reed pushed off from the pillar and walked to the center of the platform. Okay, real talk time. You all keep mentioning your numbers, your fleet, your power, like we should be scared. But has anyone here actually done research on humans, on where we come from? Morven leaned forward. We know you come from Earth, a harsh world by most standards. Harsh, Reed laughed. That is cute. Earth does not do harsh. Earth does nightmare difficulty. Let me paint you a picture. She activated her wrist device without asking permission and took control of the chamber's holographic systems. Several council members jumped to their feet in alarm. Guards moved forward, but Morven waved them back. The air above the platform shimmered. An image of Earth appeared, spinning slowly. Beautiful blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds swirling in complex patterns. Looks nice, right? Reed said. Now check the actual numbers. Data scrolled around the planet. Gravity, 1.3 standard. Oxygen, 21%. Temperature, -89 to +57. Tectonic activity, high. Volcanic, high. Storms, constant. Predators everywhere. The chamber grew quiet. A scientist stood slowly. This must be error. Gravity above 1.2 is excessive. Oxygen above 15% is toxic. These temperatures would kill most life. No error, Hayes said. That is Earth, that is home, that is where we evolved. Reed changed the display to show Earth's wildlife. Massive sharks, hunting lions, 8-foot bears, venomous snakes, crocodiles unchanged for millions of years. We evolved surrounded by things that wanted to eat us, Reed continued. We survived ice ages, plagues that killed millions. We adapted to deserts, jungles, mountains, and frozen wastelands. And the crazy part, she switched to show human recreation. Skydiving, rock climbing, deep-sea diving, surfing massive waves, running with bulls, swimming with sharks. We do that for fun, Reed said. We jump from aircraft for adrenaline. We climb mountains because they exist. We turned Earth's attempts to kill us into entertainment. The silence was absolute. Every eye stared at the images, the impossible gravity, the toxic oxygen, the deadly wildlife. The insane humans doing dangerous things for enjoyment. Ambassador Telrin finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. You are Death Worlders. Death Worlders, Hayes confirmed quietly. Earth is classified as a Class 12 Death World by your own rating system, the highest category. We checked your database. Only 3 other known planets rank that high, and none of them produced intelligent life. Until us. The holographic display continued showing Earth's harsh realities. Hurricanes that could level cities. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Tsunamis that drowned coastlines. Tornadoes that picked up houses and threw them like toys. Humans survived all of it, adapted to all of it, built civilizations despite all of it. A small rabbit-like alien in the upper tiers stood on shaking legs. How did you not go extinct? Our scientists say Class 12 worlds cannot support complex life. The environmental pressures are too extreme. Reed smiled without humor. The environmental pressures made us what we are. Every predator on Earth taught us to be smarter. Every storm taught us to build better. Every disease taught us to adapt faster. We are not the strongest species that evolved on our planet. We are not the fastest. We are not the biggest. But we are the ones who survived because we learned. We adapted. We refused to give up. Hayes took over. Your species evolved on safe worlds where the biggest danger was maybe food shortage. You built civilization in peace, but Earth is different. The display showed human history. Ancient hunters facing massive prey, building fires, creating weapons, farming flooded soil, crossing oceans in wooden boats. We hunted creatures that could tear us apart, Reed said. We ate poisonous plants after learning to cook them. We survived predators, starvation, disease, and we kept going. We looked at a world trying to kill us and said, not today. The council members sat in stunned silence. Some were checking their data devices frantically, verifying the information. Others simply stared at the images of Earth with something like horror in their eyes. Morven spoke slowly. You laugh in the face of our weapons because to you, they are no different than the threats you grew up with. Worse actually, Hayes said. Your weapons we can see coming, we can plan for them, we can build defenses, but a hurricane, an earthquake, you cannot negotiate with nature, you cannot reason with a virus. Earth taught us to handle threats we cannot control. Your fleet, we can control that outcome if we have to. Ambassador Telrin had been silent for several minutes. His scales had gone pale gray, which his species did when experiencing fear, but pride would not let him back down. Fine, you come from a dangerous world. That does not give you the right to ignore our laws. That does not make you special, it just makes you. He searched for words. Lucky you survived. Lucky, Reed laughed. Luck had nothing to do with it. Luck is winning despite the odds. We changed the odds. We made ourselves into the thing that Earth could not kill. Telrin stood straighter, his military training taking over. Even so, Death World or Garden World, it does not matter. You are 5 ships surrounded by 600. You are outnumbered. You are outgunned. And you will submit to council authority or face the consequences. The chamber tensed. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The ultimatum. The threat. The point where the humans would either bow or fight. Hayes looked at Reed. Reed looked at Commander Brecht, who had been standing quietly in the background. Brecht's scarred face showed no emotion. He simply nodded once. Reed turned back to face Telrin. Ambassador, I am going to give you one chance to reconsider that statement. One single chance to walk back that threat. Because if you actually order your fleet to attack us, things are going to get very educational very fast." "Is that a threat?" Telrin demanded. "No," Hayes said calmly. "It is a warning. There is a difference. A threat is I am going to hurt you. A warning is I am trying to prevent you from hurting yourself. The Council does not need warnings from primitive Death Worlders." Reed sighed. "Okay then, Hayes, I am going back to my ship. When the shooting starts, remember I tried to stop this." She turned and walked toward the exit. Hayes followed. Commander Brecht and the two security officers formed up behind them. Council guards moved to block their path, but Morvin raised a hand. "Let them go. Ambassador Telrin, recall that threat immediately." "I will not," Telrin said. "They have been given chances. They have shown disrespect. The Council demands obedience and we will have it. I am ordering my fleet to firing positions. The humans will surrender or be destroyed." Morvin's crystal body dimmed almost to darkness. "You are making a terrible mistake." "The only mistake was allowing them this much freedom." Telrin activated his command console. Throughout the chamber, displays showed the Dreth fleet breaking formation and surrounding the human vessels. Over 200 heavy warships moved into attack positions, weapons charged, targeting systems locked on. On the human flagship Defiant, Captain Reed settled into her command chair. Her tactical officer reported the situation. "Dreth fleet surrounding us, multiple target locks. They are demanding our immediate surrender." Reed leaned back and smiled. Not a happy smile, a smile that said finally, "All ships, weapons free, show them what a death world builds, and somebody turn the music back on. If we are doing this, we are doing it with style." The bridge crew moved efficiently. No panic, no fear, just professionals doing their jobs, because they came from a world that tried to kill them since birth. A few hundred alien warships. That was just another day that ended in the letter Y. The first shot came from a Dreth heavy cruiser, a massive energy beam designed to punch through thick armor plating. It crossed the distance between ships in microseconds and struck the Defiant's shields. Nothing happened. The beam scattered harmlessly across the energy barrier like water hitting a windshield. On the Dreth flagship, their weapons officer stared at his readings in confusion. Direct hit. No damage. Their shields are not even fluctuating. Ambassador Telrin watched from the Council station. "Fire again. Full power all ships." 200 Dreth warships opened fire simultaneously. Energy weapons lit up space like a light show. The human fleet disappeared behind a wall of destructive force that should have vaporized them completely. When the light faded, all 5 human ships remained, shields holding. No damage, and their engines were powering up. Captain Reed's voice came over the tactical channel calm and clear. "That was rude. Brecht, return fire. Weapons free, but remember the rules. Engines and weapons only. No crew sections." "Confirmed, Captain," Brecht replied from his tactical station. "All ships targeting solutions uploaded. Fire at will." The human response was different. No energy beams, just metal slugs from rail guns at incredible speed. Kinetic weapons. Simple metal accelerated electromagnetically. Earth perfected this because energy weapons drained too much power in high gravity. Rail guns were efficient and devastating. The first Dreth cruiser took 3 hits in rapid succession. The slugs punched through their energy-resistant armor like it was not there. The ship's main weapons array exploded. Its engines went dark. Life support remained intact, but the ship was combat ineffective in under 5 seconds. The same pattern repeated across the Dreth fleet. Human targeting was surgical, precise. Every shot hit exactly where it was aimed. Weapons destroyed, engines disabled, but crew quarters untouched, escape pods ignored, life support systems carefully avoided. Reed's fighter squadrons launched, 20 craft that moved like dancers. Lieutenant Park led them through the Dreth formation with impossible maneuvers. Alpha Squadron, guns only, Park transmitted. First to 5 kills buys drinks. Disable counts as kills, right? Another pilot asked. Obviously, stop being technical. The human fighters weaved through Dreth capital ships, firing precisely. One shot took out a targeting sensor. Another disabled a shield generator. A third knocked out communications. Every attack calculated. Every strike deliberate. No wasted ammunition. No collateral damage. On the council station, the observation deck had filled with representatives watching the battle. What they saw defied everything they knew about space combat. The humans were not just winning. They were teaching a lesson. A military analyst from one of the neutral empires spoke quietly to his companion. Notice their formation. They are not defending. They are attacking into superior numbers and making it work through pure skill and superior engineering. Their shields, his companion replied. How are their shields that strong? Death World Engineering, Morvan said from behind them. Both aliens jumped, not realizing the High Arbiter had joined them at the window. On Earth, their ships must protect against cosmic radiation, solar flares, and micrometeorites while pulling high-G maneuvers. They built shields that can handle that environment. Our weapons are mild by comparison. In the council chamber, Ambassador Telrin was screaming orders. Focus fire on one ship. Concentrate all weapons on a single target. The Dreth fleet tried. 50 ships targeted the Defiant and fired everything they had. The combined attack would have vaporized a small moon. Reed's tactical officer reported calmly. Shields at 73% and recharging. Their turn, Reed said. She opened fleet communications. All ships Delta pattern, Brecht, you have the con. Do not scratch my paint. She stood from her command chair and headed to the hangar bay. Commander Brecht slid into the captain's seat without missing a beat. His scarred hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. Delta pattern confirmed. Human fleet, follow my lead. The 5 human ships suddenly broke formation. Each one accelerated in a different direction, then curved back in a coordinated attack pattern that put them on 6 different vectors simultaneously. The Dreth fleet could not target all of them at once. Their formation fell apart trying to track multiple threats. In the hangar bay, Captain Reed climbed into her personal fighter. It was smaller than the standard models, faster, modified for racing before the war. She launched without waiting for clearance. Reed to all fighters, she transmitted. Park, you are buying drinks tonight because I am about to get 15 kills in the next 3 minutes. That is cheating, Captain. You have a custom fighter. And you have 10 years more experience than me. We are even. Reed's fighter cut through the battle like a knife. She was not just a ship captain. She was a test pilot. She had flown experimental craft that killed half the people who tried them. She had pulled maneuvers that earned her 3 medals and 2 courts martial. Now she flew against aliens who had never faced anything like her, who had never needed to push their limits, who came from safe worlds where danger was theoretical. It was not even a fair fight. In 6 minutes, half the Dreth fleet was disabled. In 8 minutes, it was over. Not one Dreth ship destroyed, not one crew member killed, but 200 warships floating dead in space with no weapons, no engines, and very confused crews wondering what just happened. Captain Reed landed her fighter back on the Defiant. She had gotten 17 kills, not 15. Park owed her drinks for a month. The council chamber was silent when Director Hayes walked back in. The battle had lasted 8 minutes. The Dreth fleet was scattered and disabled. And now the human diplomat stood calmly in the center of the room like nothing had happened. He pulled over a chair from the side of the platform and sat down. Now that we have established we are not here to be pushed around, let us talk about why we actually came. Ambassador Telrin sat slumped at his podium. His scales had turned completely gray. He looked like he had aged 100 years in the last hour. You destroyed my fleet. We disabled your fleet, Hayes corrected. There is a difference. Your ships are intact. Your crews are alive. Our rescue teams are already helping with repairs and medical assistance. We could have killed everyone. We chose not to. High Arbiter Morven's crystal body pulsed dimly. Why? You had every military advantage. You could have eliminated a threat to your people. Why show mercy? Hayes activated the holographic display again. This time it showed maps of the forbidden zones, areas colored red on council charts. For the last 6 months, our fleet has been exploring these restricted areas. Want to know what we found? The display changed to show communication logs, hundreds of them, distress signals, emergency beacons, automated SOS broadcasts that had been running for months or even years. 17 ships, Hayes said quietly, from 12 different council species, all stranded in forbidden zones, all sending distress signals, all ignored. The chamber erupted in denials and excuses. Hayes waited for silence. We rescued them, every single one. The survivors are on our medical ships right now receiving treatment. Captain Reed appeared via video link. Some ships were stranded over a year, one down to 4 survivors from 30, all alive now because we entered your forbidden zones. Hayes brought up rescue footage. Human crews pulling survivors from wrecked ships, providing medical care, offering food and water. The rescued aliens came from species that were enemies of each other. Some were at war. Yet human crews treated all of them with the same care and professionalism. A Vreen counselor stood slowly. Her species was herbivorous and peaceful. You saved my people. A transport ship went missing 8 months ago in the Gareth Expanse. We assumed they were dead. They are very much alive, Hayes confirmed. 32 survivors, including 8 children. Captain Reed pulled 3 of them personally from a collapsed section when their hull breached. Reed looked embarrassed on the screen. The kids weighed maybe 40 pounds each. Not exactly heroic. I carry heavier weight at the gym. Another counselor stood. Why not report these rescues? We did, Hayes replied. Sent reports to every council embassy. Most ignored us. A few said not their problem. One told us to mind our own business. Uncomfortable silence. Several counselors found the reports on their data pads, marked as read and ignored. Hayes continued. These zones are forbidden because your empires found it politically or economically inconvenient to rescue your own people. Easier to declare an area off limits and forget about them. We understand. Resources are limited. Governments make hard choices. But we come from a world where hard choices are just called Tuesday, so we made a different choice. The display showed human ship capabilities, advanced rescue equipment, medical facilities that rivaled council standards, specialized recovery gear designed for hostile environments. Earth requests the following, Hayes said formally. Open trade routes with council space, freedom of exploration in uncontested regions, and exclusive rights to conduct search and rescue operations in all restricted zones. You want to be paid for rescues? A counselor asked skeptically. No, Hayes shook his head. No payment. We do it because it needs doing, because we can, because leaving people to die in space goes against everything humanity believes in. Reed added from her screen, we are death worlders. We evolved saving each other from our planet trying to kill us. Pack bonding is what we do. If someone needs help and we can provide it, we help. That is not negotiable. That is just who we are. Morven stood from his seat. The council will deliberate on your requests, but first I must ask. You defeated a fleet 20 times your size in 8 minutes. You show capability far beyond what we expected. What prevents you from using that power to conquer rather than help? Hayes smiled tiredly. High Arbiter, we have our own problems back home. Climate change, political disagreements, economic imbalances. We do not need your problems too. We came here to explore, to learn, to trade, and to help where we can. Conquering you sounds like it involves paperwork and committee meetings. No thank you." The council chamber actually laughed. Real laughter, not nervous or mocking. Hayes had broken the tension with honesty. 3 hours later, the vote came through. 41 empires in favor, 4 against, 2 abstaining. Earth was recognized as an independent power. Trade negotiations would begin immediately. Search and rescue rights were granted. Ambassador Telrin voted in favor. His fleet had been destroyed and saved by the same humans in the same day. That taught him something about who they really were. As the human fleet prepared to leave, several council ships requested permission to join their formation. Captains who wanted to learn rescue protocols, officers who wanted to understand Death Worlder tactics, scientists who wanted to study Earth engineering. Captain Reed approved them all. "Welcome aboard the crazy train," she transmitted. "First stop, rescue operations in the Verath sector. Second stop, drinks on Lieutenant Park because she lost a bet." The mixed fleet jumped to faster than light travel. Humans and aliens working together, different species, different worlds. One mission. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had arrived, and they brought with them something the Council had forgotten. The simple idea that strength and compassion were not opposites, they were partners.